Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the North American cold wave, um, primarily in the United States from 2013 to 2014. And I am Kayla. A little bit of background on this event. It was characterized as an extreme weather event caused by a southward shift of the polar vortex, which is a mixture of snow and wind that is normally around during the wintertime. Links to climate change were pointed to be the cause of this event, but there's a lot of speculation and back and forth about whether this was actually the cause of the event. Some physical impacts that happened was there were record low temperatures across North America, heavy snowfall, especially in the northeast and northwestern regions. Health impacts, there were an estimated 12 deaths. This mostly happened in New York, but it was also recorded in Chicago and Canada as well. There were environmental health impacts, such as the loss of acres of ash trees, which is primarily just the loss of habitat for wildlife and obviously a shift in environmental factors for all habitat involved. The economic impacts were estimated to be about $5 billion, lost in numerous industries, emergency preparedness and response across the region. So these next two images are basically describing the technical side of the event. The one on your left you'll see was the normal polar vortex in early 2013. The purple and white regions you're seeing are the mixture of snow and rainfall that normally occurs around this time of year. And then the image on your right you're seeing is the expansion of the polar vortex across North America, and you see that the purple and white regions are extremely enlarged as to what they would normally be. This kind of gives you an idea of the disastrous effect that this had on the region, especially because it's almost doubled in size. These are two more images that actually show you the effect of the polar vortex. The top, obviously, you see accumulated snowfall, which was absolutely drastic across the region. And then also a second image that was taken, a satellite image of Michigan over a period during the cold wave. So the key players in this event really consisted of the United States and Canada, but also extreme weather events were seen to have happened in Mexico as well. So the two places that reached the coldest temperatures in the United States really were Babbitt, Minnesota, and Chicago, Illinois. A lot of articles cited the fact that Chicago O'Hare Airport, which is one of the largest airports in the United States, had to cancel numerous flights, and they also had problems de-icing planes. Just a lot of problems across the board. But this was really a regional spotlight area for the event because it's so largely impacted by travel, citizens around the globe. It's really a hub for people that would be affected by an extreme weather event. In Canada, it was noted that Ontario, Quebec, and the Northwest Territories were most impacted by this event, and as such, those localized governments played a key role in kind of navigating and mitigating what was happening as far as snow and rainfall happened. And then in Mexico, a key event that happened was the Tulano wind event, and really this happened along the coastline of Mexico, and they never really see registered freezing drizzle, but they did that year due to the North American cold wave, and it affected tons of tourist industry, travel, industry in general down there because they are not used to a colder climate. So now we're going to switch gears and focus on the incident command system roles played in the North American cold wave. In general, the incident command system is supposed to focus on management by objective. So in this case, it was really developing management around reaching a rehabilitation plan for the North American cold wave, and kind of, in every aspect of the term, containing it, which is not really possible in an extreme weather event. However, there are things that you can do to ensure the safety of the community involved. So ICS also focuses on coordination by incident action plans, resource management, jurisdiction, and unity of command. And this image here shows our unified command structure that should be put in place in an ICS system. So as far as ICS roles played in the North American cold wave, there really was limited roles of ICS structure in this event. It is considered an extreme weather event, but it wasn't really handled as such. There was a lot of localized government response and state mandated initiatives, but there was really no collective response to the North American cold wave. And as far as I could tell doing research, there really was no incident command system set in place other than the emergency preparedness on a national scale, which implies providing resources to localized governments and what they need. And we'll talk later about a House bill that was enacted that was really seen as a national response. So some of the things that did happen that were primarily ICS structured, or could be seen as ICS structured, were government level mandated school closings. So in the state of Minnesota, the governor enacted a statewide all school closing, and that has not been seen since early 1900s. And then Wisconsin also almost closed all schools statewide as a safety precautionary measure. That was really a role of leadership that you would see in an ICS command system, just because it was looking out for all of the communities, and it was a one leadership role decision. So the second example that we see was a House bill enacted to extend trucker access that was delivering things such as propane, heat fuel, anything as far as like safety supplies or basic necessities go. They had primarily across the United States closed most of the interstate roads, especially in the north, because of the extreme weather conditions. So this House bill did enact organizations and truckers that needed to pass interstate lines. It granted them access. Lastly, something that we saw that was really great in Canada was a frostbite alert, and it also enacted shelters. Shelters popped up for homeless people. This is a picture of a man receiving frostbite care. But this was a really cool thing. So part of ICS is establishing, emergency centers that respond to the event for people that may have been affected. And we really saw this in Canada. They opened these shelters, and for anybody that had possibly been outside, not just homeless people, but if you were affected by this in any way, they set up these shelters and really responded to the event in a positive way. So now I just kind of want to discuss the differences in ICS and the roles that were played during this event. So this was really not looked at as a nationwide event. It was really responded to on a statewide level, and even then, from statewide to local, it was a very individualized response. So local governments took care of clearing out snow or responding to ice and rain, or people stuck in areas due to these things. But there was really no formal incident action plan, not even on a statewide level. And there was really no formal ICS structure. Now with that, an assessment to the response it was difficult I can see where it would be difficult to establish an ICS here because of the unpredictability of the situation. The North American cold wave really lasted for a little over a year. It started in the beginning of 2013, but really they characterized the event as an extreme weather event during the winter months, but then the cold wave kind of continued on into months that we would really consider seeing warmer temperatures. So it really was a long duration of the event, and they kind of had to Band-Aid response to the things that were happening. They would get inches of snowfall that were just unheard of. An area in Michigan got over 20 inches of snowfall in a very short period of time, and so as a result, you can't predict these things coming, and so they had to just Band-Aid remove snow or remove people from areas or close roads. So it was very after the fact that these things were happening. I feel like if there was more structure to not necessarily predicting what was going on, but if there was more structure on a regional level, because I do understand that statewide there are not going to be the same amount of rainfall or snow, or there's not going to be the same weather across the United States. However, regionally, there was more structure. We really probably could have seen a more successful response to this event. Implementation of ICS formally would have been great. So on a national or regional level, I think, again, it would have made the response times quicker. It would have really not cost as much. It wouldn't have had as much of an economic impact. And we would have seen more management for an objective, which is one of the baseline things of ICS. So for future resolve for this situation, I think this is great. This is a great learning opportunity to take and train individual organizations, or just regionally come together and say, you know, if this happens again, what are we going to do to respond to this event? An evaluation of the community preparedness. The resilience in this event was really remarkable. Communities really came together to help people out. You saw numerous news articles of people helping to clear snow from their neighbors' yards, or in big industrial areas. They would help, they had volunteers just coming out to help remove snow, or help with flooding that actually happened after the event. So that was really great. I liked seeing that safety was a key concern for governments here. Any article that you really read, even peer-reviewed articles, safety was a huge concern, especially because the amount of snowfall or rain or flooding that was occurring was extremely hazardous to people, especially in city areas where there is very dense in a small land area. So in addition to that, basic needs prioritization was extremely positive. So we saw this with the frostbite shelters in Canada, making sure survival was, for even homeless people who had nowhere to go, was extreme priority. And then the House Bill initiative that allowed truckers interstate access on highways, and also during extended hours of the day, just to bring, heat supplies or food or etc. to different areas was great. Continuing on with that, so an evaluation of community resilience, there was a lot of unpreparedness for the flooding that came after this snowfall, which is something that I feel like could have been foreseen in the event had they been better prepared and used ICS as a structure to begin with. So some of the positives of this were clearing affected areas just as volunteer and localized response. Monitoring of the extreme weather was great. There was a lot of media coverage, tons of awareness given to people that may see extreme snowfall, rain, etc., flooding. But the negatives were also, while individualized response is great, I do feel like this is a negative in the aspect that this should have really been responded to in a national or regional way. So relying on individuals in the community to kind of plow, I mean, in an ironic sense, plow their way through this event, just kind of, it's a collapse of the ICS structure as a whole. So recommendations for the future, I would say, are better research methods towards extreme weather events. There was an article that I read, it was peer-reviewed, and they said it's easier to predict extreme weather events when they deal with heat. Now with cold, there's not much research done on them, and to be honest, the trends don't show predictability that well. So this picture here shows you kind of the trends that have happened in cyclone indicators, and normally they'll use this in conjunction with a couple other measures to predict extreme weather events as far as cold goes. And you see that this is a fairly random trend, and it doesn't really show anything that you can pinpoint that, oh yeah, you know what, cold weather would be coming. So this is a huge topic of debate and speculation and research right now. Does climate change point to extreme cold events? Does it not? Can we point man-made climate change to the North American cold wave? Can we not? There really is no firm consensus on this. So I also would recommend, I kind of touched on this earlier, coordination regionally. I think as far as climate goes, this is such a huge, huge recommendation that could be implemented and have a huge impact. You know, you see similar climates across the United States. So a regionally enacted system of ICS structure would be great and have a positive impact for any future extreme weather events, whether they're cold waves or heat related or, you know, tornadoes, etc. I think support shelters for homeless and travelers in the United States would have been great to see. There really was not a lot of that, and if there was, it wasn't covered. So taking a page out of Canada's book and enacting that in the United States would be great, especially because it gives people a place to go if they're concerned. And if you're traveling and you have no control over the weather, you have an awareness of where there is support. Also, training. It sounds mundane and repetitive and very common sense, but training on extreme weather events for personnel that could possibly be involved, all personnel that could possibly be involved, is so important. I think that would combat the Band-Aid response that comes from not knowing what to expect. I think a lack of training contributes to that Band-Aid effect, and so enacting more training, not necessarily on what the extreme weather event would be, but response to it would be great. Now, looking at this event and specifically pinpointing changes that could have been done past tense, I think establishing long-standing regional command centers would have been a lot more positive in this event, and also having more ICS structure in place. Media coverage shifted from disaster to preparedness and rehabilitation, just because the media in this event was very negative, and a lot of the news articles that you found were highlighting death, highlighting the amount of snowfall that was happening, and that's great for awareness. It really is. However, if there had been an ICS structure in place, you would have had a point person as a liaison between the media and the governmental structure that was occurring to respond to the event. And I think it really could have helped the evacuation of people from certain areas, or the setup of shelters, or just in general, like how to prepare yourself for extreme weather. I really think that would have helped the media coverage. And then also localized control of the situation stemming from regional command centers. So the establishment of a regional command center and then the ability to get those directions down to localized areas would have been great, especially in this situation because you have tons of rural areas across the United States. You have a lot of city hubs, and being able to regionally uh, regionally decide what's going to happen in each of those areas, and then corresponding those directions to localized either command centers or localized just governments in general would have been great. I think it would have saved a lot of economic hardship and then also individualized hardship of people having to respond to this weather event on their own. This is a list of references that I used for this cold weather event in the United States from 2013 to 2014. Thank you.